My name's Daniel Dean Jr.
I'm Thomas Chappell.
This is the Mock Run.
All right, pull them belts tight. We're going green. Go get us a win. Stay up on the wheel. What I'm talking about, Thomas. Bring on that checker flag. Car around, focus out front. New leader, car 57. Clear, 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 clear. It's March. Focus out front, go get another one. Clear all the way to the checkers. Good job, good job. Awesome race. All right, got 3 laps here. Scrub them hard, get some good heat in them on the mock run.
So what is the Mock Run? The Mock Run is going to be our new TV show where we talk about current hot topic events that are going on in motorsports from the local short track level all the way up to NASCAR and other sports and other sanctioning bodies. We're going to talk about recap from the episodes of what makes a racer as they come out, and we'll talk about things that are going on in our life and things that are going on with our personal races. So let's jump right into it. So Thomas, tell me a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got started racing.
Well, for those who don't know, I'm Thomas Chappell. Been around racing most of my life, really been able to do a lot more with it here the last 15 years or so. I started driving in the very end of '08. Like I said, I've now moved up. Still hope to do some more driving one day, but I've kind of moved over into the owner role here at Tech Racing. We own some cars, do some rental deals, but we also work on a lot of customer stuff. All kinds of cars, mostly late model stocks here on the East Coast. But believe it or not, it's my mom's side of the family. Most people come their dad's race or something like that. Believe it or not, it's my mom's side of the family that actually raced. Used to be a kid, remember climbing around an old Kenny Remington's old limited sportsman down here in Orange County. Norman Remington, those are some of my mom's kin folks. And then, like I said, growing up, kind of got out of it, did some other things, played some other sports, and then got back in high school and was able to get my first car and been at it since then.
And just dove straight on into
Yeah,
it.
just dove right into it. Loved it.
So why racing? What brought you to racing?
I don't know, man. The challenge, I think, was a lot of it. It's hard to make these things fast, and I love the challenge of it. That's why I love the crew chiefing and owning part of these things too. Is trying to make my equipment better than others.
Yeah, well, you gotta make your drivers better too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know some of us give you a hard time with that. So
Yeah, we do a little driver coaching as well. So.
yeah, that's for sure. So cool. Well, good deal. Good deal. So yeah.
But yeah, so yes, that's just a little bit about me. But how about you? What's your story?
So well, started racing when I was really, really young. I was probably 7 or 8, somewhere around there. And my dad, he had dirt track go-karts, so we went and raced at Highway 24 Raceway. And that was cool to see him out there on track. And then at the end of that season, he asked me, during that off season, said, you can do one of 2 things. I was moving up in Cub Scouts, right? And I was getting higher, about to transition, I think, into the Boy Scouts, and go all the way to Eagle Scout, and that whole pathway. And he said, that's cool, you can do that. Or you can go racing in this go-kart, and we can get you set up, and we'll both do it. Yeah. And I said, I want a helmet,
Yeah.
Put me in a cart. So that's what we did. We went out to Highway 24 Raceway. We raced out there. I raced out there for 3 years. We podiumed every year.
Nice.
So I can't remember exactly. I was too young, but so that's where I kind of got started racing and did that. When my parents got divorced around 2007, 2008. My mom moved down to Georgia back to where her parents were, so I moved down there with her, right? I kind of flip-flopped a little bit, but stayed down there, and just kind of fell out of racing, right? It's tougher down in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
All the technology and the industry is in North Carolina, so it was tough down there. We tried a little bit, and we weren't very good, to be honest with you. We knew nothing about it, right?
Yeah.
I definitely didn't know anything about it, so we just kind of gave up on it. So graduated high school, joined the military, joined the Air Force just to kind of get out of that small town and, just experience things, right? And just learn about new opportunities, kind of get a little bit more open-minded about some things. And so I did that and landed in Wyoming and tried to do a little bit of racing. I bought my first race car, my first actual car. I think that was 2016 or 2017 when I bought it. I want to say it was the end of 2016. I bought it, brought it home, was living on base, so they
How did they feel about that? Having a race car?
So it was a 1990 Cutlass. You know, it was black, and I yanked this thing out of the field. I mean, I really did. It was dug in this field. You know, Wyoming, there's the snow.
Yeah.
You know, so it's weathered, right? And really looking back, it was kind of a death trap. But never, I think I made one race out of the whole time. And looking back, it's probably for a good reason.
Yeah.
So, but I pulled it out of the field, pulled it on base on this homemade trailer. I bought a trailer that was homemade, it was half built. I put all the decking on it and learned how to, and I wired it and did all of that. That thing drove so crooked. And getting the car on was not fun because it was about, you know,
Oh yeah, no little problem.
No,
Anything, yeah.
no, not at all. It was just kind of a ramp it and send it. And the Cutlass, it had been hit right in front of the left rear, so it had a little bit of, you know, stagger in it. So, but it was not a tuned stagger, right? Like it was just kind of whatever it had. It wasn't getting fixed. So it was kind of like, you know, pointed. And my wife, I love her to death, but she was not the best at loading a trailer and, you know, spotting, you know. So it's kind of just a, you know, lean my head out the window and point it, aim it, and go and hope. So, but I pulled it on base, and they were not happy about that. So they didn't like that.
Yeah.
My neighbors never got a call, but you know, they you know, police the area, right? The privatized housing does. So I got a letter and I got talked to. So I had to move, and it didn't run, right? So like I'm trying to get this thing, it was seized up. And I remember I had to put brakes on it, and it had, do you know how many trim packages and different brake packages there were for a 1990 Cutlass?
No, gosh.
There were like 6.
Okay.
They were all vastly different brake pads. But what did I do? I'm disassembling, I'm in teardown mode. I'm like, I'm going to go through this car. It's going to be the baddest 4-cylinder in the state of Wyoming.
Yeah.
I'm going to go down to Colorado and bust them up in Colorado. It's going to be awesome. So I'm in teardown mode, and I get the calipers off, and I look at the brake pads, and they're just chalked. I'm like, well, don't need those, throw them away. Then I went online at Rock Auto that night and was, you know, looking for brake pads and realized there was like 6 of them.
Yeah, didn't have
no clue which ones were the right ones. So that stalled it for much longer than it needed to. But moving on from that, you know, I ended up getting into my garage. Then I moved off base and bought a house. That way they couldn't yell at me anymore. So built it in my garage with some friends and my wife. So went racing out there. Made one race. It was a heat race. Okay. We had the fastest lap time, but we finished dead last. And that was because that thing, it had the most cubic inches out of everybody. It was 2.4 liter Iron Duke engine. Right? Yeah. It was bad. I mean, it had a little bit of, for a little tiny, you know, strict 4-cylinder, probably, I don't even know how much it weighed, like 2,000 pounds, right? It was fast down the straight, but man, that thing would not turn. It just wanted to go in the wall, you know. So I could never pass nobody, right? But we had the fastest lap time. I was like, yeah, that's cool, you know, if I could just get it to turn. Could never. But so I kind of, after it blew up, I bought a second car. My wife said, you know, I'll pay for half the car. This is like $500, right? She's like, I'll pay for half. So we went and found this Integra, 1991 Integra, with a non-VTEC engine in it, and bought it for $300 and drove it 3 hours home. Oh God! And me and my friend Haley, we drove all the way out there, purchased it. You know, I remember we were going in the McDonald's drive-thru to get some food because we've been driving for hours, and it had eBay exhaust on it, and it hung so low it caught as I was going. Because I didn't realize it was that low. It just yanked the whole car. It was so bad. Never got to turn a lap in it because we got orders overseas. It was like, no, I'm gonna put it on pause and sell it, and then do that thing. We just got married, so it was, you know, kind of a necessity to put the brakes on that, go do that, and just kind of regroup, right? I was overseas, and I kind of knew that military was not going to be a career for me, right? I was coming up on my 6 years, had to re-enlist or get out, in my eyes, right? Because if I re-enlist now, I'm at 10 to 12 years, so I might as well just stick it out at that point. And I said, well, they were talking about sending me to Minot, North Dakota. Didn't want to go to Minot. I was tired of the snow. Didn't want to go back. So I said, you know what, I'm going to get out. I'm going to do it. So I joined, I got accepted, I should say, into the DoD Skills Bridge program, which let me intern for the last 6 months of my active duty contract get paid active duty.
Oh, that's nice.
Active duty pay, so I had all those benefits, you know, aside from like overseas, like the hazardous duty pay and those kinds of things. And I just needed the company to sign off. So I went racing, right? I said, I'm going to go to NASCAR. I want to learn how to be a mechanic at that level, at the top level, and figure out how to perform and execute, right?
So they would basically pay you a salary to go learn a new skill to like kind of reintroduce you to the workforce.
Exactly. So they discovered it was cheaper for them to do that, and obviously the optics are better and it's more beneficial for the military member than it is for them to get out, you know, cold turkey after the military service and then not have any skills transferable, and now they're living on the system, you know, they're having to rely on their benefits really hard, and they're having to do other programs to try to get them up off their feet, you know, on their feet and not homeless, right?
Right.
So it saved them money and it's just more beneficial all around. So I had finally got an internship with Jinjo Cobb, was working with her, and I was a mechanic. So it was myself, it was another mechanic named Joe, and then our crew chief Brian. And it was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. I learned a whole lot working in that shop. Met some great people, met some not so great people, to be honest with you. But I learned so much about, you know, what to do, what not to do, and kind of how to conduct myself at that level. But the biggest thing that I learned was that I wasn't fulfilled just being a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I learned a lot of skills, and I love working on the cars. I still do it, obviously. So I'm here, right?
You're on road crew and everything.
It was pit crew. So I went over the wall. That was an awesome experience. So I was a tire carrier. You know, went to school for it. Did the 101s. Was gonna be a contract guy. I kind of realized that wasn't really, the pay wasn't there for me to do it, because those guys really just do it for fun, right? At least back then they did. So it was really tough. It was a really tough decision to not do the picker stuff full time. But yeah, so I was a mechanic at home. So I did everything. Usually I was front suspension. So I loved the front suspension, doing the A-arm, doing the ball joints, you know, doing the spindles. That was my favorite thing. So I really enjoyed that. Luckily, the other mechanic, Joe, he loved to do the rear ends, right? And he would do the underbody stuff. Transmission back was his domain. I would do spring, suspension, those kinds of things. And then, of course, the front end stuff. We'd all kind of jump in together on like engine installs and that sort of thing because it was so intensive, right? And then I did a lot of interior stuff too because I was the smallest guy. You know, I'm not a small guy, right? No. But I'm the shortest and I was the most compact on the team because Joe's really tall. Brian was a bigger guy, so it was tough for them to get in. So I did interior work. But yeah, and then we did road crew. So we were working in the shop 5-6 days a week, right? And then I remember there were multiple times we would follow the hauler out. We would load it, follow it out. You know, at 3 or 4 in the morning, the sun's starting to come up, and we're headed home. We've been there all day. We ordered to head home. You know, get showered, get your bag, because you had to have a go bag. You couldn't pack a bag, there was no time. You had to have it packed beforehand, right? So you grab your go bag, you get a shower, and then you get back back in the car, head back to the race shop, and now we're going to the airport. Wow. Right, so it was a lot of travel. It was really tough on like my wife and stuff, right? Because I had just done. We got our overseas orders 2 weeks. She'll say a week. I say 2 weeks. One of the two. So somewhere within that short time span, we got overseas orders, right? Wow. And she couldn't go. It was an unaccompanied tour for 365 days. Got extended because I was getting out for 542 days. So it was really tough to come home from that.
And then be gone a lot.
Right, exactly. It's because I'm on the road 6 to 7 days a week, right? And man, it was so tough.
Oh, yeah.
But
I mean, it does take a lot. You know, even luckily, you know, we were able to do a little more. So you were gone a whole year overseas, and then immediately come back to being on a road crew, which is something, you know, we'll probably touch on in a later episode. I think was some more of your experience in the top 3, but like, you know, it's not a lot what a lot of people think it is, you know. There was a lot of things that I really liked, right? Because the first time I walked out, I think the first track that I walked out on was Kansas Speedway, right? I want to say that was the first one where I went and I was the tire guy, right? So on top, obviously we're doing multiple jobs, right? But I was a tire technician on top of everything else, right? So the first time walking out on the pit road, it was 2020, so everybody had masks and there was no audience, right? But still just walking out on that stage and just kind of, you know what I mean, seeing the grandstand, you're like, wow. You know, it really kind of like hits you in your chest and it's like, holy crap, I'm here. Yeah. It's like, this is cool.
And I remember I looked over at Brian, I was like, do you ever get used to it? He's like, yeah, you get used to it. And I was like, I still haven't gotten used to it.
Yeah.
I still love it. He was a short track, Charlotte, doesn't matter. I love it.
Right.
But, I liked that. I liked the professionalism of it. Just the feeling of, this is the show, right? It wasn't Cup. I wasn't at Cup, obviously, so that is the show. But to me, it was the show, right? Like, that's what I've been working for. This is it, right? But what it taught me, where I was going with that was, what it taught me was that I wasn't really satisfied being a mechanic, and just a mechanic, right? I really felt like I wasn't done in the driver's seat. So I remember Justin Christie, he was working for CMI. He was same situation I was in. He was doing pit crew, everything, right? Road crew, home crew, pit crew, all the crews. And we were at Talladega, and we were pushing our trucks through tech. His truck was in front of mine, and we were, I really didn't know Justin all too well. We were just both back marker teams, and we relied on each other a lot. They would come over to shop a lot, borrow tools. So you kind of get to know the other guys, right? And he was talking, he was like, you know what, I'm going to quit. I'm going to be done with this. I'm going to go late model racing. I said, man, that sounds cool. But it's always been out of my reach because I grew up poor. I would wager to say, right? Like there were some hard times, right? So late model racing to me was always just out of my reach, right? Because the cost of racing is just so expensive and it goes up every year, right? So it was just one of those things that I would never be able to catch, right? And he said, I'm gonna go rent from these guys, Mike Chambers and Thomas Chappell. He said, I'm gonna rent from them. I said, rent? How do you rent a race car, right? What do you mean rent? You don't rent a race car, you buy it, you build it, and then you race it. That's what I always thought. That's what Jen Joe was doing, it was to rent a race car or drive a race car that was not yours. You were a contract guy, like Richard Childress calls you up and said, hey, I like where you finished at Hickory. Let's come test you. You know what I mean? That in my fantasy world, in my eyes growing up, that was a story.
That's the way it happens. So.
Exactly. So, it turns out that's not.
Sorry
to squash the dream, guys, but that's not it, right? So, long story short, we ended up doing our thing. We both worked for CMI for a brief time, and I kind of left, the truck scene because it just wasn't a good fit for me, right? Especially with the things we were going through at home. And it just wasn't where I wanted to be professional, right? I didn't have enough time to be doing that kind of work schedule and still pursue my own driving. I remember Motorsport for Masses, actually in 2020, was doing they were putting on, one of their events, and this was before I was ever involved with them, and I said, man, that's cool, I want to go do it. I want to see how good I am, and it was road course style, kind of like a track cross, a little bit faster than autocross, which I was never really too interested in. But it was a full-blown road course, so it wasn't as intimidating. So I want to try that. I had a Corvette, and I want to learn, right, and expand on my driving skill to maybe move up, in circle track racing. And didn't have time, right? I remember asking for time off, and they had to deny it because we just had to get the truck on. We had to get the truck to the track. So anyway. I stepped away, started doing Motorsport for the Masses, and got involved with them pretty heavily in 2021. And really harnessed a lot of skill and honed it there, right? And kind of was able to expand on different driving characteristics. So that was really cool. They ended up asking me to instruct for them, so I just slowly became, a bigger part of their family, and they became my family, right? And because they're a great group of guys, but. Moving forward from that, we went to the test with Justin with you guys. And that's when Mike, he asked me, he said, when are you going to drive? I said, oh man, I can't afford these things. Nah, I'd love to, but it is. And he started talking to me about the cost. And that's all I really, I didn't know that I wanted it, but that's all I really needed was to know what cost. Because then I can kind of build everything around that, right? Okay, I need to hit this much money. This is how I think sponsorship works. Let's do that. So it's just evolved so much, and then fast forward now, we were Rookie of the Year 2022, and brought home a first career win in a late model. Not even a junkyard warrior car or bomber car. It was a full blown. I mean, to me, it wasn't like a touring late model, obviously, but it was.
It's a full blown race car.
It's a race car, and I was like, this is racing. This is what it's about, right? And now here we are. So that's the. Kind of the 1,000-mile view of my story. So
awesome. Well, got a whole lot more to get into, for sure. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We for our next segment here, we're gonna hopefully everybody has seen by now our pilot episode of what makes a racer, and going to kind of elaborate a little more on that, and with the direction that we're going to go with that that show and all that. So why don't you elaborate a little bit more on what makes a racer a racer?
So I'm in college, right? Go to Belmont Abbey College, going for my bachelor's in motorsport management. In all last year, for the last semester, was my first semester back in college.
Right.
And I was a race car driver, right? I'm driving, I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I wouldn't introduce myself as that. In the beginning of class, they're like, hey, go around the room, say your name, where you're from, and an interesting thing about yourself, or what you do, right? And I wouldn't introduce myself as a race car driver, because I still, that was one of my mental struggles really bad with 2022 was, getting over that hump and just kind of proclaiming it, right? Being confident about it, right? Because to me, I'm like, I'm nobody, this is my first year, I'm too small to fish. There are so many guys who are like, you're not a race car driver, I'm a you know what I mean? So, So I wouldn't exclaim myself as a race car driver. Well, I've worked on that a lot in 2022, and now, at the beginning of this season, or at the beginning of the semester, they would do that same thing. Different classes, different classmates, different professors, and they'd say the same thing: what name, where you're from, and what you do.
Yeah.
This year, I started proclaiming myself as I'm a race car driver. I drive race cars. That's my thing. My name is Daniel Dean Jr., and I drive race cars.
There you go.
Right.
Get more comfortable in your.
And I'm more comfortable saying it because I don't do anything else. I'm not at school. I'm at home. Looking for sponsorship or working on marketing, or I'm at the race shop with you guys, right? That's it, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of, and then they would ask the question, what does a race car driver do? What are you doing? And it's, like I think last year we had 20-something starts. Between everything that we did with Charger and late model, and the 3 tracks that we went to.
That's it.
But to a casual person, 20 Cup Series does 36. That's a race car driver, you know what I mean? It's like, well, so I realized that there was a big disconnect between what makes a racer, right?
Yeah.
What is a race car driver?
What is everybody's perception? Yeah.
Exactly. If you're not racing all the time, what are you doing, right? Yeah. And I don't know what everybody else is doing, but I know what I'm doing, what we're doing, right? We're at the shop working on them to get them ready, or I'm in my office or driving, right? Or I'm always working on marketing stuff, or trying to find sponsorship, having meetings, working with my agency. Everything is geared toward getting the race car and putting on a show for the fans, right? There's nothing else. So it made me think, what? And I kind of looked at the videos that were out there right now, and nobody really hit on the real of it, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot. They show bad things, like when bad stuff happens to them or struggles that they've got, but nobody really got into it the way that I view it, right? I'll say that. So what makes a racer is really, it's grown into a big passion project for me to really show not only the ups where we're at the track and we had a good weekend, maybe we got a top 10 or we got a win, or we just had fun, but also, the bad things where, you're on the road, I'm on the road 5 hours a work day, right? That's a lot of time away from home, and there's things that you miss, right? There's birthdays that you miss. I'm not going to be able to go to my nephew's birthday, because I'm just busy, right? Not for one single issue or reason, but I'm just busy trying to make this career, get off the ground, right? So I wanted to kind of showcase that it's not just being in a race car with your helmet on. There's so much more. There's being in the shop, on your back working, right? There's putting motors in. There's being on a computer working on your marketing stuff, because I can't afford to pay somebody to do that for me. So I've got to learn it and get good at it, because at the end of the day, if my stuff doesn't look as good as somebody else's, I'm like, well, I didn't pay somebody to do it. It doesn't matter.
No.
Sponsors don't care. Fans certainly don't care. So you got to get good at that stuff, right? So I wanted to really show in a vlog kind of style that there's a lot of highs to this career, right? When we won, that was
Yeah.
the highest I've been in a very long time, right? But there's also when, you know, you have a sponsor deal lined up. You know, we had a deal in the off season that looked really good and
Yeah.
really consistent. The whole team thought we were going full-time car show racing, maybe some NASCAR ARCA starts,
Yeah.
and it fell through,
Yeah.
right? And that really, I wanted to showcase that and
Yeah.
show that there's a lot of instability, there's a lot of up and down on the career, and basically answer that question of, if somebody says, hey, I want to be in motorsports, I want to be a racer, right? Not necessarily a driver, but just a racer in general, right? I want to live that lifestyle.
Yeah.
They'll be able to look at our video and see this is the lifestyle. Like, this is the raw of it, right? Now, our first episode wasn't quite where I wanted it to be, right? Just, we had a lot of things that, you know, we had to cut, right?
Yeah.
But that's because we're learning. Everybody's learning a little bit. I'm certainly learning the camera work, the audio work. You know, my editor's learning the editing stuff. So there were some struggles that we had to overcome and figure out how to best give that message or portray that message to the viewers, right?
Yeah.
So we're working on that. Episode 2 is really shaping up to be really, really cool, and I'm really excited for where it goes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's something else I'll say from my side that I'm excited to see is, like you said, nobody really understands the work that because there's many different drivers in this sport. You got everything from, you know, funded drivers to people that do it themselves, you know, out of their shop and everything else, and every one of them has my respect for how they get to the racetrack. But sometimes some of the rental drivers and stuff like that, they don't get the recognition they deserve because people think, oh, they're paid drivers.
Right.
Well, like you said, there's many different ways to get to the racetrack, including you know, now, which is a story we'll have it's another day, but, you know, you now work for us part-time on these cars to help make the dream happen for you to get behind the wheel.
Right.
So, you know, I think it's gonna be a good thing. Really look forward to the growth and all that. Like I said, pilot may not have been quite where it needs to be, but hey, this right here is only gonna get better too. This is, you know,
This one will get better.
our first shot at this too. But you know, the main thing is to take the first step, and start making it happen. So,
Exactly. That's it.
but
So
so.
we're going to take another break. We'll be right back with a few more questions to end this off. Welcome back to the mock run. So, Thomas, what do you think about Orange County's schedule and the rules package for this upcoming season?
A little bit of controversy there.
What's the controversy?
Well, you know, you got a bit back and forth, right? You know, car count's a big thing in this region and all that, and you know, there's a good amount of tracks in a small area, so you know everybody's fighting for the same pool of cars.
Right.
You have some guys that want to go run basically the full cars tour rules, you know, for the weekly stuff, big carburetors and all that stuff, and then you got some of the group of people that prefer to stay with the smaller carburetor, more of a limited style package and all that. You know, there was some.
So when you talk about limited to, you know, the other package, what's the difference? What's the big difference there?
Really, it's just carburetor. I mean, you're talking, you know, a carburetor change. You know, it's not there's not much weight changes. You know, unless you run like some different motor packages. But you know, it's there again. It's just all to equalize the field. Really, it's not a big difference. The only thing you're talking, you know, for the most part, is probably a 60 to 80 horsepower difference between, you know,
Just for the smaller carburetor.
yeah, just runs carburetor. You know,
Right.
other than that, you know, we're still on bump stops, no ride heights. You know, there's not a lot of differences in the cars other than a carburetor change for, you know, the packages that have been considered. But some guys, you know, they just want to run late model. You know, that's just what they want to run the big carburetors and all that. And you know, I don't know. I'm all for whatever the track. You know, whatever's gonna make the track the healthiest, gonna have the best car counts,
Right.
and all that. That's the short track fan in me. From the owner side of me, I wanted to stay with the more limited style rules and all that, just because it gives me more options motor wise. You know what I'm saying?
It's cheaper cost too.
Yeah, it's a little cheaper. I can therefore make it cheaper for my customers, and in my eyes, it's a win all the way So, but the rules, I think, have come out that we're going to stay with the more limited style rule, which, like I said, is a win for us. I feel like, but, same thing, the charger rules are not changing, which is a good thing for those guys. Any big rules changes are always a cost, and, it's not something that we want to incur. And, so it's an 8-race schedule. I wish they would run a few more than that. I'm a racer. I want to race.
Right.
That's what we do. I just want to do race car stuff with my race car friends.
That's it.
That's what I like to tell people. But it's a solid schedule that shouldn't overdo somebody. They did a lot of work of staying off of some of your major stuff. They stayed away from car store dates. They stayed off of South Boston, which is our closest other track. So it's a good schedule, and I hope we get some good people to come run with us this year.
Gotcha. So talking about the rule changes, so let's say you go run South Boston, right? And then the next week you want to come run Orange County. So it's just a carburetor change, maybe a little bit of a weight change, pushing lead out, add some weight, scale it back out, and then go, right?
That's it. I mean, you're going to change, from track to track anyway. You're going to change the car's setup.
Right, of course.
You're going to move some weights around, like I said. Springs, maybe some bump stops, some setup stuff.
But you'd have to do that regardless of if they change the rules package to match South Boston's anyway.
That's it. Yeah, you're going to change, and the tracks are on 2 different tires, so therefore, again, another reason to change your setup and stuff. But like I said, yeah, the big difference is the carburetor that everybody seems to want to fight over.
Right.
So,
that's kind of.
And like getting back to the motor thing, it eliminates. To run tour rules, we'll call it, you've got 3 motors, and all 3 of them are expensive options, that require more refreshing and all that stuff. If we beat on them with a big carburetor, more horsepower costs more money.
Right.
Where, if you run the smaller motors and stuff, it's there's more options. Some of your cheaper motors come back into play, especially at a place like Orange County where it's more of a momentum track. You don't have to have the biggest motor down there. The biggest motor is not going to always win. Stuff like that. So there again, that's why I'm a fan of having a little more open rules, because it presents more opportunity to get more cars. That's it. And the tracks, there's a whole lot that goes into it too. But like the tracks can only pay so much purse money. So. Therefore, if it's more expensive for us, then we turn around and expect them to pay us more,
right?
And it may not be feasible, So, and I think Orange has a really competitive purse for the limited style motors, or the limited style package. I would say.
Lower cost.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, the lower cost motors and all that, and I do think something that maybe a little sneak peek I'll slide in here on the this is going to be an exclusive. I've only a couple people know that, but. Orange County is looking into some incentive programs as well for their more loyal racers. I can't say what yet, but I think like if you run 2 races in a row, your 3rd race you may get some stuff free, so it will be cheaper to come back.
Well, look at that.
So
that's not a bad deal.
That's it.
I'm all about keeping my money in my pocket.
That's it. That's it. So but I know another big series that we run in and talk about is the car store, and they've had some exciting new stuff that could help bring some sponsors on that. So, what is your thoughts on their recent?
Well, from the marketing side, anyways, being a paid driver, right? Like all of us are, but I have to pay you to drive, right?
Yeah.
So I've got to find my outside money through sponsorship, right? That doesn't start whenever I start in NASCAR. That started in Charger, right?
Yeah.
So from the marketing side, that's really exciting. Because everybody knows Dale Jr. You can't ask a single damn person on the street who is Dale Jr. and them not know who he is.
Yeah.
Even if they're not in racing, right? Like even the dudes living under rocks know who Dale Jr. is. So with that, Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, Justin Marks, with those guys coming in, I think it's really helped people like me that have to go out and find business deals to put together with these guys and prove that. Yes, it's late model racing, but it's worth it for your business to invest in it, right?
That's it.
So, nowadays, before, let me backtrack. Before a car store was bought by them, it was, honestly, it was really tough because there there's not a whole lot to go off of at that cost level, right?
Yeah.
We're talking a lot of money to race these cars, but from a business standpoint, there wasn't a whole lot of eyes on the tour. I mean, there was from the racers' perspective.
Yeah, but outside of.
Yeah, from a business perspective, they don't give a shit. They don't care about late model racing.
No.
Because it's just not profitable for them, right? But now that you throw in Dale Jr., now that they kind of at least listen to you a little bit, right? The Kevin Harvick, to a lesser extent, Jeff Burton, Justin Marks, with the way he's kind of coming in and redesigning how the industry works, slowly but surely.
He's a big outside the box guy.
Big outside the box guy. So it's going to be really exciting to see what changes he brings into it, right? Cars Tour just signed on with Flow Racing, right? Which is the biggest single dedicated streaming platform for motorsports, right? Not just circle track racing, but motorsports. So that, it's expanded the viewership, it's expanded the base to a national level, and then now I'm able to take that, put that into a marketing deck, and then go prove I actually have a leg to stand on when I'm talking to these businesses, and I throw out this money, this price, and say, yeah, I need this price to go racing, but here's why.
No.
And here's why it will benefit you, right? And I've noticed recently they're starting to take it a little bit more seriously. It's gaining more traction, so it's easier to market. And if you marketing anything in an easier way is always going to be more beneficial. So I'm very excited. There's young drivers coming up. We talked about Car Store for I think 2 years now.
Yeah.
So this couldn't have happened at a better time with us trying to make that jump to it. To help guys like me try to get in the seat and try to be on track a little bit more.
Right.
So that's certainly an exciting development, not just for me, but for short track racing in general, right?
And from I'll even throw this in there, from the owner's side, I'm more excited to see too, like the eyes that it's gonna bring. And like you said, Justin Marks to me is the big unknown here, right? Because he is vocalized that he wants to bring more attention and recognition to the short track level. Like I said, people that do this for a living, and just like the dirt guys, the dirt guys have a huge following, and they do that. They race for a living,
They
right?
make so much freaking money.
Yeah, and that's exactly so. Why can't we do that with asphalt?
Right.
So I with his thoughts and ideas, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the tour grows, not just this year, but especially in 2024. Moving forward.
Well, and so you bring up dirt guys, and this is a soapbox that I've gotten on a few times, right? But dirt guys, they make a lot more money, not just with the purses, not just with the checks, but they also have a lot more fan engagement, right? Up until probably the Carolina Pro level, the Cars Tour level, before that, you don't get a lot of time to engage with the fans, right? Especially a lot of these guys at the local level, they own their own stuff, right? So they're the ones pitting on it and working on it. They get out of the car, they're changing their tires, doing the setup. They don't have time to go out in the stands, right? That's what it takes. There is no set time at the weekly level up until you get to a big touring series to engage with your fan base, right?
Yeah. To build that personal,
Right. Well, like if you look at what NASCAR is doing, they're doing a lot of, track experience. It's not just the on-track product. They're making it into a show. You look at LA Clash, they had concerts going, like it or not, they're adding to the at-track experience. They're making it you're not just going to watch a race. If you want to, it's there and you can watch it.
Yeah.
But for the more casual fan, for the more casual viewer that's not even a fan, you can go to the racetrack, say your buddy's a big race fan, you can go to the racetrack and just have a good time because they've got so many more options, right?
Yeah.
At the local level, you just don't have that for asphalt. Dirt, they've done such a great job of integrating the fans and giving the drivers, time to interact, right? With most of your short track schedule, with most of your weekly, itineraries, right?
Yeah.
There is no time, right? Because you're getting there, you're practicing, you're having to set up the car, you're going to work on the car, fix the car, then you're qualifying, and then bam, now you're doing pre-race ceremonies and you're racing.
No.
There's no built-in time, and I think from again my standpoint where I have to beg, plead, fight, and steal all this money to go racing, it's tough to sell that to somebody, right?
Yeah.
Until I get to the touring level, it becomes a little bit easier, but still not easy. It would be so much easier if asphalt, we were able to find a way, not at the touring level, but lower, to build that fan base and build that that engagement, right?
Yeah.
Because then that's something else that just gives me more ammunition to sell to a business. So
Well, hopefully as the cars, that's something I do see is hopefully as the car store kind of grows and offers more of that stuff, right? Like I know at Hickory this year they had like an actual midway with tents set up, you know, and you could offer same thing, fan engagement, you know, talk about your sponsors, people that support you and all that. So hopefully as the car store grows, area tracks will catch on and force them to evolve too, right? You said become more of an entertainment venue. And it's not so much just open the gates, we're gonna have a race, here it is.
right,
You know,
it's
you gotta show
not
up.
just the on-track package.
Right.
It's the full experience, and that's what people want to get, and that's what's going to bring people into the gates.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, well, that's gonna do it for this guy.
That's going to do it for this segment. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the mock run. So, Thomas, tell me a little bit about what's been going on in the shop this week.
So business is really starting to pick up around here. You know, we had the clash. You know, everybody kind of starts getting excited. Weather's getting warmer. You know, everybody's starting to wanting to get their cars back together and all that. We've thank goodness, like I said, one of our local tracks. We now have our rules package that we know for sure. So one of our house cars here, Diego, that's off camera. We know, managed to put a motor in it and all that, and kind of getting it prepped. We're still working on our lineup for our house cars and all that stuff. But got Bobby's car ever sat behind us. Got it going along. He's getting a new body and some other updates and all that stuff. But same thing. Really starting to gonna be some long hours and late nights now is when it gets going. Everybody getting geared up for the season.
That's it. I got you. What do you think the 2023 plans are looking like roughly?
For us, a lot of racing.
A lot of racing.
A lot of racing. Like I said, we're our main tracks. South Boston, Orange County, Caraway, car store stuff. We got some guys kind of around Wake County and Kenley too. So we've got some.
And this is a mixture of customer cars and house cars, right?
Yeah, customer cars and house cars. We've lucky enough we do have some house car stuff at South Boston. And like I said, kind of finalize some deals on some car store stuff and all that. It just takes time to put together some of those bigger deals. And
I know about that.
you know how that works.
I know about that.
Same thing. We do have some house cars that I know will be in Orange County, and like I said, just kind of really bounce around, see how the season gets going. We had one of our guys run the winter race at Caraway a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, had a miss out, got into that, but yeah, so it's really starting to get geared up around here. Like I said, a lot of work to do. So be some fun times coming up.
I gotcha. Well, I think that's going to do it for us for here at the mock run. Send in your questions, and next week we're going to have a section on the fan ride along Q&A. So we're going to try and pick the best ones that we see in the comment section on all platforms, and then we'll put them up on the screen and we'll try to answer them during that segment. So thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the mock run.